Hey everyone, and welcome to KFVS Streaming Convos with Cunningham. I am joined today by Miranda Sullivan, who is the Director of Aviation at Southeast Missouri State University. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We thought it'd be interesting to talk about what seems to be kind of an I shouldn't say up and coming because aviation's been around for a while, but at SEMO at least, it seems like aviation is kind of, as a career, has been becoming more popular. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. So we started the program in fall of 21, and since then it has grown exponentially. We're very excited about the growth of the program, and there are just so many different careers in aviation. I think we're in a prime location to get students out there and get them careers they've never really been exposed to before.
Why is this such a prime location, in your opinion?
We are kind of in between some major hubs, right? St. Louis, you've got Memphis, right? So we're right here in a really good geographical location for the flight training. The weather here is generally pretty mild compared to other locations. So it's just a good location for us to get aviation kind of going and rolling.
So when you say aviation as a career, what are we talking about? We're talking about you at SEMO. You can learn to become a pilot, right?
Yes.
What are some of the other ones?
So aviation has so many different opportunities within it. At SEMO, you can get a professional pilot degree. So it's your flight instructor and commercial pilot certifications. So it allows you to fly for an airline or corporate pilot. You could do a variety of options. I have a friend that she flies puppies across the country. So I think that's
nice.
pretty cool. So lots of job opportunities just flying the airplanes. We also have aviation management as an opportunity where students can learn to manage an airline, an FBO, an airport, just different managerial aspects of aviation. So if they think, wow, I love flying, I love aviation, but I don't really know if I want to be the one in the air, then they can go ahead and do the aviation management side of things.
And didn't you tell me before we came on that air traffic control is going to be coming? Is that correct?
Yes, we are very optimistic about an air traffic control program here, hopefully very shortly. We've got the moves going on that, so hopefully we can get that going live here soon. It should be a really neat program for students to, let's say they love aviation, but they, again, don't want to go the flying route. They can go the air traffic controller route, which there's a huge shortage of right now.
Yeah, and we knew that I was gonna mention that. So when you mentioned, I want to get specific about different aspects. So you said you can get your commercial pilot's license. So you do the whole thing here. You got the flying time, the whole deal.
Yes. So one kind of caveat or one thing that most people get confused about the commercial pilot's license is they think, oh, they have the commercial, then they can go ahead and start flying for an airline. And that's not necessarily the case. It is kind of the baseline for flying for an airline, but you do need what's called an ATP. So most companies will pay and provide that for you, but our training gets you private pilot all the way through your certified flight instructor certification, so it allows you to teach people to fly. And then in the middle there is the commercial pilot certificate. So that allows you to take money for hire. So if you wanted to get paid to fly, then you can do that. So paid to fly those puppies around would be the commercial pilot operation, not necessarily in the broad term flying for Delta United American or anything like that.
By puppies, you mean actual puppies?
Literal
too.
puppies, yeah. You just hear that in the background, and she sent me videos. It's so much fun.
Yeah. Are they rescue puppies?
I think so, most of them.
Yeah.
I think they're doing some rescues, just relocating, and yeah.
So, and then as far as the airport manager aspect goes, are there a lot of opportunities for airport managers in the United States?
I think there's a decent amount of opportunities for some airport managers, but also for just other managerial roles within different airlines or different companies. They like for those that take those managerial roles to have a background in aviation in some way, shape, or form. So having that aviation management degree gives them that background in aviation while allowing to do the managerial side of an airport or a company that works within aviation.
Are these all 4-year degrees, or does it take a little bit longer, like to get your pilot's license?
Yeah, so it's a 4-year degree. We get done with the flight training aspect about 2 to 2.5 years, respectively, and then students can use the remainder of their time to finish up any general education courses and or flight instructor for us to build up that flight time to go to an airline eventually.
So how did you, as the director of aviation at SEMO, how did that come about? How did you get into aviation?
Lucky happen chance. No, I went to South Dakota State University and I got my certifications to fly. So I am a commercial pilot as well as flight instructor and a multi-engine instructor. So I do flight instruct on the side as well. And then I had the opportunity to come down here to SEMO, and I'm from Southern Indiana originally, so it's a little closer to home. And turns out I love the teaching side of things. I love the flying side of things. So getting to combine the two in a university setting is just really awesome for me.
Yeah, very cool. So what would you say is the most challenging part about teaching someone to fly? As someone who hates to fly. I think sometimes I think it would be better if they had let me fly the plane. Then I might be okay. But when I'm stuck in the back, it makes me
nervous.
Nervous.
Yeah.
So
Do you like to drive? Be the
yeah,
driver?
yes, I like to drive.
It's a control thing.
Yes, I think it is.
You're going to find most pilots have a little bit of that type A personality where they like to be in control a certain degree. So getting to fly the airplane is much better than being the passenger. And
Yeah.
I say that from experience. I think there's a variety of things that can be considered difficult. I think the most fun aspect of aviation and teaching people to fly is definitely see that light bulb go on. So they start out day one confusing the yoke and the foot pedals, right, the rudders, and they're like, I don't know the difference between these things. And then just watching those things kind of click into place and them understand how everything is working and learn to fly, it's really fun to see.
So how do you teach someone, for instance, like do you do stalls and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So we do aerodynamic stalls with the airplane. So we don't
That
actually
sounds
shut
awful.
the engine off. We don't shut the engine off. You're okay. You're
Okay.
safe there. But aerodynamically stalling the airplane where it just loses its lift, essentially. And it becomes more like a falling leaf rather than a torpedo, like you're kind of probably thinking when you think of a stall. But they're very safe, and we're trained to do them. And we're trained on the recovery procedure more than necessarily getting into the stall, just how to recover from that.
What kind of airplanes do you guys use for your instruction at SEMO?
Yeah, so we use Cessna 172s. We currently have the Mike model variety for most of our airplanes. We use a company called US Aviation Academy. They provide us with the aircraft, some of the flight instructors. It's a kind of a subcontractor deal for us where they provide that side of the flight training, and then we do the academic side at SEMO. So Cessna 172 is for the single engine airplane, and then we've got Piper Senecas and Seminoles for the multi-engine airplanes. So.
What's the advantage of those airplanes? I mean, you said the Cessna is a front engine propeller, right? So,
Yeah. Yep.
So what's the advantage of that as far as teaching goes?
They're just great trainers. They have a lot of forgiveness for new students. So instead of, I know for learning to drive a car, you're probably not going to stick a student in an 18-wheeler when they're learning to drive a car, right?
Sure.
There's a lot going on. With the 172, it's a little more simplified, and they have a little bit of wiggle room with if a student makes a mistake, it's easier to come back from that rather than it being life or death right there in the minute.
And then what were the other ones you said after that? Is it kind of like you graduate, and once you do the Cessna, then you can move on to the other airplanes?
Yeah, so you accomplish this. My words are hard. You accomplish the single engine. Once you get the single engine down, then you can go on to the multi-engine aircraft from there. The multi-engine aircraft that we have, they're also very good trainers. They're very forgiving. They're really good for students to kind of work with, where they get kind of that jump up to a more advanced system without having something so big and so broad.
Do you find that aviation as a career, is it, as a woman yourself, are you finding more women are getting into the career, or has it always been like that?
Yeah, there's actually, I believe the percent now is 7% of pilots are female. So there's a very low percentage of female pilots. But I do see that number growing, especially in these future generations. I know in the time I've been at SEMO, we've had some great classes of female pilots, joining the program, and a larger number than I've ever had at any other university I've worked with. So it's kind of cool to see the love for aviation being passed down, and we start them out kind of young. So we do a lot of events where we go to schools and we talk to the youth and get them involved. And I think the more you can get young ladies involved in STEM fields or STEM, science, math, all of those things at an early age, they get excited about it, and then they know, hey, I can do that too. So
is this something that people, I know I talked to Dr. Carlos when he was still, Dr. Vargas when he was still here, and he was a proponent of the pilot program, if I'm not mistaken. Is it something that you guys saw as up and coming, as kind of the future? You know what I mean? Like there's a nursing shortage too. Maybe schools would benefit from nursing programs. Did you see aviation as something that you were going to fill kind of a hole that wasn't being filled? If that makes sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. We definitely did see aviation as one of those holes that needed to be filled. There is a shortage in aviation in general. Pilots, there's a giant shortage. Air traffic controllers, there's a massive shortage of not having enough air traffic controllers. A&P mechanics for aircraft, there's not enough of those as well. So you've got this giant generation that are now starting to retire, and there's nobody really coming up to fill those spots. And with aviation still booming, there's just so much need for aviators in the work field. So we definitely saw it growing. We've been very fortunate with the community and being so involved with the aviation program, being so accommodating. The university support has been phenomenal as well. The airport support has been phenomenal. So honestly, we see continued growth with the program, and I think, no pun intended, but the sky's the limit with this. If we're going to keep going with it.
So where's everybody going? I mean, because like you said, flying itself as a mode of transportation is only getting more popular. How come people are getting out of the field, or do you know?
Yeah, so a lot of the people that are retiring, there's a mandatory retirement age of 65. So at 65, they're mandatorily at this time, unless they make any vast changes, required to retire from the airlines. So they could still do some kind of corporate or charter gigs as long as they're medically still fit and able. But most of the airlines are saying, hey, sorry, time to go, at that mandatory retirement age. So that big, baby boomer generation, so to speak, they're having to kind of step back and move on to greener pastures.
So if you're a student and you're listening, or you're interested in aviation and you're still pre-college, say, like still in high school, or maybe you're maybe you want to make a switch, what are some of the things that you need to do? I mean, is it you said STEM earlier for which is math and some of the other things that I was terrible at. Is that a big focus of, like, do you need to switch around and start concentrating more on math if this is something that you want to pursue?
Not necessarily. I think if you have the drive and the love for aviation and you're willing to put in the work, you can be successful no matter the background that you come from. Whether that be, myself personally, I'm not the greatest at math. You can ask my parents. But I have the drive and the love for aviation, and so that kind of pushes through that. So at this time, just basic math is what we mostly use. But having the good study habits is going to be really helpful. Making sure that if you are choosing aviation, you're making good life choices now while you're in high school, or if you're in college, making good life decisions, because one poor life decision, maybe with alcohol or drugs or something of that nature, can impact your career, especially within the aviation industry. So making sure that you are, I always tell my students, make good choices. So making good choices. Get the FAA medical if you need, or you will need an FAA medical, so getting that sooner rather than later. That way, if there is a hiccup with your health that you aren't aware of, you can get that solved before you start college.
So if you get pulled over for drinking and driving and it stays on your record, then it affects your ability to be a pilot?
Yep, it could definitely impact it, yep.
Gotcha. What are some of the other things for anybody listening who is interested in this career field that they need to know before they, maybe they haven't been to SEMO yet, or they're looking forward? What are some of the things some advice you would give potential students?
So definitely while you're in high school, take advantage of all dual credit classes that you can, especially while you're in high school. Generally, they're a little bit easier to get through whenever you're in high school, so you can save yourself time and money. I'm a big proponent of saving time and money if you can, so knocking some of those out and just have that love of aviation, just build those good study habits, honestly.
So if you're going to be a pilot, is commercial pilot, is that kind of the peak of that career field, or what else is there? You mentioned private pilot's license earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the peak. I don't know. What is it?
So I think the peak is different for everybody. I think everyone has a different idea of what they want to be successful in. Just like in the medical field, there's so many different paths you can go down to become a doctor in different fields. So within aviation, if you choose to go airlines, that's one peak you could potentially get. If you choose to go maybe a corporate route or a charter route, you want to fly famous people around, you want to fly puppies around, you want to do aerial photography. There's so many different opportunities that I think it depends on the person what their peak is considered.
So your friend that's flying puppies, this is her full-time job? This is what she does?
She was, yeah, she did that. I think she flew other things at one point too, but I cared about the puppies when I heard.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yep.
Well, what about the photography aspect? You said aerial photography. How does that work?
Yeah, so it depends on the company. Some have physical, just like regular photographers, take the airplane up with a camera, they take photos. Other aerial photographers will do imaging for fields, and so they'll have a camera that sits in the bottom of the airplane and they fly over and take pictures that way. So agriculture really uses aviation in a lot of aspects, whether it's with the helicopters or with fixed wing airplanes. I had another friend that used to fly over oyster beds, and they would count those. I don't really know what they counted, but they did things with them.
Yeah.
So there's just a variety of jobs, and you can use aviation in kind of any way, shape, or form within your career. So if you thought there's something that interests you, you can combine the two in some way.
So you mentioned this before we came on too, which was part of the aviation curriculum at SEMO is becoming a drone pilot.
Yes.
Which that seems to be something that's really
Taking off.
Yeah, taking off, exactly. I know even in the television business, a lot of like stations like ours, we didn't have a helicopter. They're crazy expensive, but we have a couple of drones, and we get some cool shots like that. When did that start coming on, taking off?
Taking off.
Yeah.
It's okay. Puns are welcome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been, honestly, the last few years, it's really been kicking off. SEMO is very fortunate to have one of the only, I think the only program in Missouri for a bachelor's in UAS or in unmanned aircraft systems. So it's a phenomenal program. Our lead faculty member and director of that side of the program has done a great job of getting that program out there, because you can use it not only for, the news side of things, you can use it for agriculture, you can use it for art, you can use it for film, you can use it for so many different aspects. So I really foresee drones and UAS programs really continuing to build and grow and take off from there. But there's just so much you can still do with them. I don't foresee them replacing pilots ever, because I think people are still going to want to have a human in the cockpit at all times. But I do see, there's always going to be the need for it, and there's a niche there for sure.
I've seen some people using drones for like real estate, to get the shot of the house and stuff like that. So that's interesting. Is the drone program as difficult as the pilot program? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as all that goes.
I think they all have their different levels of what's difficult. I think each student would consider one student would consider one program easy, one student would consider the other program difficult. It really depends on the student, on what they consider and what they're interested in. So I think it's a very competitive program. It's a good program. It can be as hard or as easy as you make it. And I think that kind of goes with any program that students get into, is what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. And so if you put in a lot of work and effort, then it won't be hard at all. But if you jack around and don't put any work and effort, it'll be really difficult.
What would you say personally is your most rewarding part of your job? Is it teaching kids? Is it flying itself?
I say it's probably a mix of the two. I really enjoy, like I said, that light bulb moment, watching the students get it and watch them go from, little baby private pilots to, not really knowing much, to now they're teaching the next generation. I think that's really awesome to see that growth and see that transition while in an airplane and not within an airplane. I think it's fun for both sides.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Well, Miranda, thank you for coming in today.
Yeah, no
It's
problem.
an interesting topic, which is why we wanted to talk about it. Once again, is there somewhere that someone could go? Is there a website or something they can go to if they want to learn more about the aviation as a career at SEMO?
Yeah, definitely go to the SEMO website, check out the aviation program there, and they also have the UAS and aviation management as well. And feel free to reach out to me via email or phone call, or I don't think I have any of those other little fancy doodads, but
that's enough.
Yeah.
All right, Miranda, thank you for coming in, and thanks for watching, everyone. We will catch you next time. I'm Jeff Cunningham.